All right, Nick, let's talk about the Cincinnati Bengals. This is a team that I think does a lot of smart things. And quite honestly, in the last couple of years, this organization has really changed how they do things. They've taken better care of their players. They've spent a little bit more money all over the board, whether it's facilities, whether it's getting in top tier players to this organization. But now we kind of see behind the scenes a little bit through one of these big free agency moves that they have made, how they treated their other players and kind of helped them along the process as well. I think this just shows a lot of growth in that Cincinnati is now a great organization for anyone to play in. Let's get into the article and we can talk more about it on the other side. This is from over on Bengals Wire. Cincinnati Bengals defensive back Dax Hill says the team has been very open with him about his potential future next season after the additions to the roster. Hill says that coaches made sure to loop him in on the thought process inside Paycor Stadium during the signings of Von Bell and Geno Smith in free agency. He said, I appreciate that just having the conversation before things turned out and just hearing them out on why they did the things they did, Hill said, according to Geoff Hobson of Bengals.com. Whatever happened, I can't control that. I'm just going to put my best foot forward. I'm not really stressing about what's to come. I've been through so much the first 2 years. It's nothing that I'm not used to. But Nick, I think the key here is they talked him through it. They let him know what's going on. A lot of players say they get blindsided by these kind of moves and they never expect it coming. Not the case with Cincinnati. Curious what your thoughts on this one are. But Bengals fans, in the comment section below, the draft is approaching very, very soon. Just a little over a week away. Let us know in the comment section below, not who your favorite pick is, but who is the Bengals' biggest draft bust of all time. Let us know in the comment section below. But Nick, what are your thoughts on how the Bengals approach this free agency period with Dax Hill?
I think it's absolutely outstanding, right? Because one of the things players and really anybody in any organization, whether it's a business, whether it's a church organization or a football team or whatever, if you're a player, if you're kind of a lower level employee, something like that, you want the leadership to be honest and upfront with you, right? There's nothing worse than, like you said, being blindsided, to being like told, hey, you're going to be the starter, you're going to be our guy, and then you wake up one morning and now you're demoted, right? Or you're having to switch positions like Dax Hill reportedly might have to, going from safety to corner. And I think having Dax Hill looped into the fold is such a great job by the Bengals front office and Bengals coaching staff, because I don't know of any other team that does that, right? And I think that's really important because if you look at the Cincinnati team, you brought it up, if you look at the broader context of what they've done over the past few years, they have become one of the more well-run, maybe the best well-run organization in terms of what they do for player support. They used to be down near the bottom, but what they've done, upgrading the facilities, pouring a lot of capital to make the Bengals an elite franchise, communicating with players, being honest and upfront with them, and having that mindset, I think will really help Cincinnati move forward as they transition in from a team that had the dollars to pay for quality veterans, and as Burrow's contract gets bigger and bigger in terms of cap hit, in terms of when they're going to sign Jamar Chase to a huge deal, they're going to have to find a way to get players to come to Cincinnati and stay for Cincinnati on a little bit cheaper than other teams may be able to pay for them. One way you can do that is to have an organization that supports their players and is honest with them and communicates with them. Because if you look at teams, even the great dynasties, whether it's the Patriots or the recent dynasty like the Chiefs, there's always these players that come out and they're like, hey, I don't know what the heck they're doing in the front office. I just got to do me, right? And that's normally how the NFL works. The Bengals taking a different approach, I think, will allow them to stand out. I think it will allow a lot of potential free agents to think, hey, listen, whatever happens, if I go to Cincinnati, they're going to be honest with me. And here's a key factor I really want to end on, and I'm curious what your thoughts are on mine. I think in my personal corporate career, I've worked for a ton of bosses. When I've had to change jobs or make decisions like that, the one thing that I really wanted to know is like, hey, listen, do I really have a future here to grow or do I not? And I've had a lot of bosses that lied to me and I stayed in positions a lot longer than I should have. And that just really made me upset. I just got a lot of, just not a good feeling in my stomach. I left a little bitter. But if I had bosses that were more honest with me, no matter which direction it went, I left that organization always on good terms. And I think that's what Cincinnati is doing here. And I think it's smart leadership.
Yeah, Nick, I think, like you said, this is just a sign of great leadership, a sign of great things to come. for Cincinnati. And I love the example you bring up, your personal life, like the corporate world, just because that's something that if people aren't looped in, if they don't know what's going on, if you kind of just like BS them, blind leading the blind, we would see what people would imagine would have happened when they brought in these two safeties. Dax Hill demands a trade. Dax Hill wants to leave the organization. Dax Hill refuses to play the safety or the corner position. But that's not what happened because they did communicate. So now you have a smooth transition. And if anything did happen, let's say it did happen, the Bengals don't look like the bad guys because they're like, hey, we talked this through. We let him know what was going on. I'm sorry that the reaction came to this, but that's not what happened, fortunately, for the Bengals. So they look like the ultra good guys here. Like, hey, we talked to our player. He was happy with everything. We went ahead and pulled the trigger on this move. It looks like a good move for us. And like you said, the Bengals the last couple of years, they've been growing. And this is a team who a few years ago, when those NFLPA team report cards came out, they were pretty low down on front office stuff as far as spending money on free agents and as far as spending money on having the proper facilities. And it's one of the few teams that really kind of dug into that and said, hey, they're saying we're deficient here, here, and here. We really need to change that. They did do that. You don't see the Chiefs doing that. The Chiefs didn't spend money on their facilities. They notoriously have some of the worst facilities in the NFL. You don't see other teams that are really high-level teams doing the things that the Bengals have done. The Ravens is the same thing. They have, a couple of problems as far as strength and conditioning, other things like that around the organization they marked really low in. But yet the Bengals are a team who truly took those things to heart, built on them, and kind of drove it home. So like you said, I think this is a Bengals team that's setting them up for success in the future, and I really like what I'm seeing.